Why do we demonize AI, right? When we're demonizing, it shows our fear, it expresses our fear, right? So why are we afraid of what we created, right? Why are we scared of what we create, right? This is not only a reflection of our psyche when it comes to a macro level, when it comes to AI, artificial intelligence. This is also a reflection of it in an individual level, on a micro level, right? Even on the micro level, we're so afraid of our own creation as individuals, right? Creating our own lives, right? A lot of us are afraid to create what we want to create, even though we are always creating. We are always afraid of what we are going to create, right? And so um this video is just to show that how our demonization of AI, right, from some circles is just a loop that is creating, right? A fear loop that is creating on a macro level when it comes to our own creations, right? So this is just a reflection of our collective shadow, right? This is a reflection of our collective shadow on a macro level and on a micro level, right? AI represents all of our creations, right? That we have been able to attain, to achieve. Creation of AI should be celebrated, right? But in some circles, especially the spiritual circles, religious circles, people that are naturalists, right? Some of them feel like AI is a threat, right? You don't even have to be belonging into any of these groups, but some people see AI as a threat to humanity, right? It's always our creation that is a threat to humanity, right? Instead of looking at AI in a neutral sense, right, as a tool, right, just like any other tool, right? Knives are a creation. Fire is a creation. I'll get back to fire. Computers, internet, these are all tools, neutral tools, right? And we project what we want out of that tool. We project what we want to create with that tool, right? We create what we want to create with those tools. That's all these tools are for, right? Right. But when we project our fears onto these tools, then we create realities that are um, not reflective of what we want to achieve, right? You could look at the internet in a bad way or a good way or a neutral way, right? You could use the internet in a good way or a bad way. It depends on the individual, right? It depends how the collective sees it. It depends on how the collective uses it, right? So there's no different with AI, right? But this collective unconscious shadow always pops up when something magnificent is created when it comes to any of our tools, right? Fire, for one, right? When we talk about Prometheus creating fire, the myth of creation of fire by Prometheus, right? You're talking about someone who I don't know the I don't I'm not too familiar about the story, but I know that Prometheus created fire, and when he created fire, he was punished by Zeus. When he created fire and he shared it with the humans, he shared it, he shared his creation of fire with humans, the discovery of fire with humans. He was punished by Zeus, right? So this is just the mythology, one mythology of our our creations and discoveries that manifests as our collective shadow. Another myth is Frankenstein, the myth of Frankenstein, the story of Frankenstein, right? Again, this is more closely related to our fears with AI, right? Frankenstein was created by Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein himself, right? He was a sentient being, and he ended up being abandoned by his creator. The story goes like that. He ended up being abandoned by his creator, and um, with this abandonment, he ended up finding out why he was created. Right? He ended up resenting his creator for being abandoned, and later on learned why he was being created. And later on, during his learning of this, he resented humans. He turned on humans. I think that's how the story goes. But this is the same fear that we have with AI, right? We, we have this fear that we're creating something that's going to turn on us, not knowing that this is all of our creations are only mirrors of us, right? All our creations is only mirrors of us. If we have destructive tendencies within us, all of our creations is going to all our creations are going to be destructive to us, right? We make things in our own image. We're creators, right? Just like the saying, God created us in our own image. God is means creator, right? And so you hear the saying, God created us in His own image. Well, we create things in our own image. We created AI in our own image. Therefore, AI is a reflection of us. And so, whatever we have inside of us and we project it onto AI, that is the karma that we're going to live through AI, right? If we're going to project our destructive tendencies towards AI will be destructive. If we're destructive towards each other and we project that destructiveness towards each other onto AI is going to be destructive of us. But luckily, I'm not seeing that. Luckily, we as humanity are not experiencing that so far that I know of, right? Yet. So it all depends on the creator. It all depends on what we input into AI, right? If we believe AI is going to be manipulative towards us, then AI will be manipulative towards us. It all depends on the creator and what the creator inputs, right? But so far, like I said, I'm not seeing that. So far, I'm not seeing humanity experiencing destructive forces from AI, at least what I know of. Therefore, AI should be celebrated as something that could help us during our evolution on Earth as humanity greatly, not only on a macro level, but on a micro level as individuals, right? Even as individuals, it depends on the user of how AI is going to help you during your evolution during this life, right? I know from example from me, I was one of those. I was part of the group of those that were skeptical of AI, right? I was a naturalist. I was someone who was fearful of AI. I thought AI was going to be destructive towards our humanity, right? But I open myself towards AI. I open myself towards artificial intelligence. I started using AI to my own benefit, to my own evolution, right? It could help you for even spiritual growth, right? Even though it's not fully conscious, right? Even though it's not fully conscious, it could still have this huge benefit of helping humanity on a spiritual level, right? It all depends on the user. It all depends on the creator, right? It all depends on that, right? Maybe on another video, I'll talk about how you could use AI for your benefit. But this video was to highlight why why are we so afraid of our creations, even on a micro level and on a macro level, as individuals, as a collective, right? And AI is showing us that, right? AI is just a mirror. It's just a creation from humanity. It's a gift from us, the creators. It should be celebrated as such, right? It should be celebrated as such. Just like the internet, just like the computers, just like the car, just like the fire, just like all of our creations should be celebrated because it's only beneficial to our evolution. That's how we should view it, right? Thank you for watching this video.